And here we are. Hey, Alan.
Hey, Doug, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. And we're
Happy
going to
New
be,
Year to
yeah, Happy
you,
New
and Happy
Year.
New Year
Yes,
to everybody out there in Penn World.
Happy New Year to everybody. We're going to be talking about Moon Blanc today. This is the name
Mm-hmm.
that I give,
Yep,
but I've actually was one of my viewers that said that. It's
it's a good
called
name.
Moon Blanc
It's
because
a good
Moon
name.
Man
Yeah.
loves to copy Mont Blanc recently. It was Leonardo,
And they're
Stipula,
not letting up, and they're not letting
and
up.
they're
Yeah,
not letting up. You
yeah.
just recently did a review of the P135, as I did.
I did, I
And
did. Yeah,
I love that pen. It ended up being one of
nice
my
pen.
top 10 of 2020. I was
I
surprised.
don't, I don't, I don't blame you. It's a really attractive pen. It
It's the
it
mini
checks all the
Fude.
boxes. The night pen.
It's the
Yeah.
mini Fude nib that did it for me. I
It
think
writes well.
it
It
writes
writes
well.
well. It doesn't have the affliction that a lot of number six Moonman nibs have had from me lately, and only lately, where I've had to work on them a little bit to get them to work properly.
I've
The number,
never been thrilled with Moonman nibs. In fact,
yeah,
all my best Moonman pens I've replaced with Pen BBS nibs. So
yeah. I
there you
don't blame
go.
you. I don't blame you.
But today we're going to talk about the Moonman,
M1000.
the M1000. I was going to call it Lobrock.
Yeah.
But this
Yeah, your
is
French, being that I'm sure you took French in school and I didn't, being from Canada, your French pronunciation is probably
no,
a lot
my
better than mine.
my French sucks, so we're not
Well,
even
mine's
gonna
non-existent.
pretend.
Mine's non-existent. So there you go.
So this is a copy of a relatively rare
Hmm.
Moon Blanc. Now
Mount
I'm
Blanc.
saying it all the time.
Yeah.
Mont Blanc,
Yeah.
um, Lobrock, and I can't
Yeah.
pronounce the other word, but it's
I think it's
Legul,
for
something like that,
Legul. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
which
Yeah.
are as you said in your review, are knife
Yeah.
makers. And
Right. Yeah.
the interesting thing about this pen for me is that it's showing such high quality in terms of the wood is incredible. The fit and finish of this
Agreed.
pen is
Agreed.
amazing, and they've copied.
Agreed.
I don't have the Mont Blanc, but from all the
Not
photos
neither do
I've
I.
seen, this
Yeah.
pen
Yeah.
is almost identical to the Mont Blanc.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, what surprised me is that the pen is so horrible in the hand.
Mm.
And so both it's a work of art. It is beautiful. It is beautifully
Right.
made. The nib writes okay. It's a little bit fine
Yeah.
for me, but the fact that the balance of this pen and the metal section and everything, I can't write
Right.
with this pen. It doesn't
Right.
post. I
Yeah.
and so I keep asking the question: why does Moonman keep making
Right.
pens of such great quality? They are great copies. They copy them down to their faults.
Yep. Right. Yeah.
I would bet if I had a Lobrock in my hand, I would hate it as much as I hate holding
Yeah,
this pen.
so the one that I compared it to from a perspective was similar was if you think the Mont Blanc Hitchcock
Yeah,
is a bit heavier, but then again, it doesn't have it's all metal, doesn't have any wood. It's roughly the same size,
and
and
it's
it weighs
silver, isn't
in,
it? Is
and
that
it's all
silver?
it's all silver.
Silver.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
all
so it's
silver.
heavier.
It's silver with a little bit of enamel, but it's almost all silver. It's 78 grams, and I think this was 60. What is this? 61. 61
61.
versus 70. Yeah. So you think about it, they're comparable. I can't imagine the Mont Blanc genuine one of this weighs that. If it weighs more than 61, I can't weigh much more than 61. So we're talking about probably they probably, like you said, probably copied it down to the faults. So a couple of theories on why maybe they're being so faithful and not really trying to improve on it, or even coming up with their own original designs. As you
Mm-hmm.
were saying, well, if you could do this, you could certainly do an original design.
Yeah.
They're making for, as we all know, their market is primarily a local Chinese market. They're not designing these pens to appeal to the global marketplace. I mean, obviously we get these pens. We sometimes have to jump through a little bit of hoops to get them. They're all coming sent to us from China. They don't
Mm-hmm.
have a local dealer network or
Right.
local distribution in the U.S. or Canada or anywhere for that matter that I'm aware of. Goulet Pens doesn't sell these. Anderson Pens doesn't sell these. You can't
Yeah.
buy them on Amazon too easily. So the point being is they're making them for a local Chinese market. Presumably they know their business and know their local market, and presumably what the local market is wanting is pens that look like Mont Blanc pens.
Mm-hmm.
And otherwise they wouldn't be doing it, because we know they're capable of doing, like you said, great engineering, great design, etc., as opposed to an original design. Why they came up with if they want to do a heavy metal and wood pen, why not do an original heavy metal and wood pen? That's
Yeah.
maybe that's not what the market in
And
China
that's
wants. You know.
and here is a
Yeah.
Moonman
Yeah.
M800, which is a
Right.
dead spitting image of a Leonardo.
Right.
Not again, it's labeled Moonman and everything, so it's not a
Right.
fake, it's not a counterfeit.
Right. Right.
But they have the ability to
Right.
copy these things down to the nth degree. And
Right.
then they copied this. Remember the
Right.
M2.
Yeah. Right.
And my thrill with this pen, even though I don't like it that much, is
Right.
that they re-engineered the stipula to
Right.
make it, instead of a piston filler, they made it a spring filler.
Yeah. Which is to
And
me that's the really cool thing about that pen. I love
that
the
is
filling
the cool
mechanism of that.
thing about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it became something innovative. They took the
Right.
design, yeah, and changed it to the point where they made a different pen, which is
Right.
I guess why I don't understand why they don't take some of that initiative and make their own designs like Pen BBS does. But you're
Right.
saying that Pen BBS is like a small niche kind of thing.
And pen ABS is unique. If you think about the Chinese manufacturers that we've been buying pens from, presumably there's probably another 100 makers in China that we don't
Yeah.
even know about. But
Oh
let's
yeah.
put that aside. For the ones that we know
We
about, you've
recognize.
got Pen BBS, you got Wing Sun, you got Jin Hao, you got Moonman, you've got now Hongdian, which is fairly
Hongdian,
recent. Yeah.
Delight. Yeah.
You know, do you like? There's you talk about
Yeah.
less than 10 manufacturers. The
Yes.
only one who's really doing innovative things in terms of original design, original materials, and truly being innovative is Pen BBS. But they're really unique. They're the only ones in the world that are doing that. Forget about the only ones in China. Who else in the world? Is there another pen manufacturer? And we've said this, I think you and I on other videos.
Yeah.
Is there any other pen manufacturer that you can go to right now and buy 6 or 8 different filling mechanisms from? There isn't one.
You can get
one.
You can get some really excellent range of resins and things like that from Leonardo. Leonardo's doing a great job of expanding that. But they have basically 4 or 5 different models and 2 filling systems.
Yeah, right. So the Pen BBS is really, really unique globally.
Yeah.
In terms of that. Look, yeah, unique materials, like for example, this pen here from Heinz Pen Company, which is a US pen manufacturer.
Yeah.
They have a lot of cool resins. Maybe not quite as many as Pen BBS, but there's a lot of cool resins that I have. They're all cartridge converter pens, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of really cool resins. Does a really nice job. Beautiful pens, but they're all cartridge converter. Yeah. Nobody has and as we all know, not all of them work. Right. So some of them are hit or miss. Those filling systems from Pen BBS. Yeah. Some of them are clearly better than others, but you got to give them credit for trying.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they're pushing the envelope all the time with new designs.
Right. But putting Pen BBS aside, the vast majority of the Chinese makers that we have, and Moonman really falls into the category of the vast majority of other ones, they're doing sort of tried and true, safe choices.
Yeah.
And maybe for the local Chinese market, like we said, copying this Mont Blanc pen is the safe choice because they're at the end of the day, they want to sell as many pens as they can. So, that's probably what's going on here.
Yeah, and it sort of begs the question of when you get into this range here, you're no longer just sort of nudging Mont Blanc. You're getting into some of their rarefied pens.
Yeah.
So this pen was $65 US, and the original limited edition is in the range of $2,500. You can get them for like $1,500, $1,800, I think. But we're talking about a huge range difference in pricing. Are they actually hurting Mont Blanc with this?
No, because if it's a limited edition run of Mont Blanc's already made,
they don't make them anymore.
They made them, they sold them, whatever money Mont Blanc was going to make on them, they've already cashed the check. Right. So there isn't, so the Mont Blanc's done. So that's how they can.
Then there's this pen, which is the Jin Hao 159. And that is a dead copy, other than the materials, of a Mont Blanc 149. Now, this is all metal, enamel over metal, and they don't pretend to cut, and it's nowhere near the quality of the Mont Blanc. But this is a $5 pen, and the 149 is what, $1,000?
New, it's I think about $1,000. You can get a really nice, clean, used one. For those of you out there who are looking to buy a nice, clean, used one, you shouldn't pay more than $450. Would be upper limit on what you should pay for a nice, clean, used one, unless there's something special about it, right? You know, let's put it aside. A very big difference in price. But this is Mont Blanc's moneymaker, right? This is not a
That's
limited edition, right?
so does
Yeah, yeah,
I think I put it away. Here it is.
yeah.
So why isn't Mont Blanc upset about the Platinum President, which is a 146? It's a
Right.
146 and it's a resin pen.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah,
and it's a gold nib.
yep.
Eh,
Yeah, so I have a couple theories about this, which we've discussed. I think it's still north of 100, nearly $200 pen, right?
Mhm.
It's not a cheap copy. It's a similar design pen that's expensive for Platinum, right? It's for as Platinum in terms of pens that Platinum makes, it's up there. So I think from the marketplace perspective, that's viewed as sort of being okay because you're not selling a cheap copy. In other words, selling a pen that looks like if you take $1,000 pen and make a $200 version of it, somehow that's viewed as not so bad. If you take a $1,000 pen and make a $20 version of it, that's where people start to have meltdowns over it. So I think that's what we're dealing with here.
That's certainly what David Parker was talking about in his
Yeah,
video, because he didn't
yeah,
have a problem with those
right,
Japanese copies, but he certainly had a
right,
problem with this pen.
right, right,
Yeah.
right. So I
Well,
think that's what we're, and again, that's still a gold nib and stuff like that. So I think part of the issue is you're not cheapening it. If you think about it, the only difference between the Platinum President and the Mont Blanc pen is the physical size of the nib.
mm-hmm.
Now
That's like a number 8, isn't it?
it's a number 8 nib,
Yeah.
and also mine's a vintage one. So mine has a ebonite feed. They don't make
Right.
them. You buy a new one, Mont Blanc.
Yeah,
You
you
walk
get
in a Mont Blanc
plastic.
store, you get a plastic feed
Yeah,
nowadays,
yeah.
right? So is the fact that the size of the nib and the filling mechanism, because the Mont Blanc pen is
Is
a
a
piston
piston.
filler.
Yeah.
Now one could argue that doesn't necessarily make it better.
No.
It typically makes it more expensive, but
It makes it different enough to avoid a lawsuit.
right. But
Which was my point
yeah,
with the
yeah,
Moonman, because the Moonman T2 is a
right,
spring filler, not a piston
right,
filler, not like the
right,
stipula at all.
right.
So tell me about your writing experience with this pen, not about the quality of it or anything,
So
but just the
right.
writing experience.
Okay, yeah. So I spent a day kind of using this for work. So it's a typical taking some notes at meetings, checking things off a to-do list kind of thing. It wasn't like not like a university student who's taking pages and pages of notes. I do have some days for work where I'm taking lots and lots. It's a heavy writing day. The day I used this was an average writing day. It was fine. It was fine. Would I want, if I was a student who was writing several dozen pages of handwritten notes a day, would I want to use this pen? No. But I would say that about 3/4 of the pens I own. Right? I
So
wouldn't want to use. I wouldn't want to do that with the Mont Blanc Hitchcock either. So
true.
the answer to that is no. But like I said, 3/4 of the pens I own, I would say the same thing about. So but I would say that my experience was fine. Would I, as you well know, I'm a massive fan of posting. The fact that this pen didn't post, problem for me. Less so now that I'm not walking around an office. My main rationale for I'm always afraid I'm going to lose the cap or set it down somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
If given that I'm working from home now for reasons which I think everyone understands, that's less of an issue. I just like pens that post.
So my question to you is, your channel is called What I Ink. Will this pen remain inked for you?
This pen, well, I'm certainly not going to clean it out prematurely. Meaning I will definitely no, because there are a lot of pens I ink them up once, use them, and say, you know what, I'm probably not going to use them again, and I'll just clean it out. I will not clean it out prematurely. It will get its full use until it runs out. Question is, will it get re-inked and stay in the rotation? My pens, I keep way too many pens inked. I probably keep 40 to 50 pens inked at any one time, which is, I will tell all the folks out there, is too many. Do not emulate. It's too many. Don't emulate me. That being said, I don't know. We'll see when the time comes. I will let you know when this pen runs out, which it'll probably be at this rate, not for a while. But we shall see. It does do things that I like. For example, it doesn't really the retention mechanism, if you will, works
Yeah.
well, meaning it doesn't dry out. I don't have to like reprime the feed. Maybe I have to shake it a little bit, but after letting it sit for a couple of days, so it is fine. It
Got a
also is
nice
going to be
cap liner. Yeah, there's a good
yeah, it
cap
has a
liner
nice cap.
on it.
It also might be a wear and tear issue. Wooden pens scare me a little bit. I have a fair number of Pilot wooden pens. I tend to keep all those in individual sleeves before I even put them in the pen case because
Yeah.
I'm really a little skittish about if the wood you can't pop like if a resin pen gets a scratch in it, I know how to
Buff it out.
buff that out.
Yeah. Can't do that
I
on
don't
wood.
know. I can't do that. I can't do it with pens. So wooden pens scare me a little bit. But then again, as they age, they get a nice little characteristic to them
Yeah.
as well.
I'm
So
already
it's a
noticing
double
that. I'm already noticing I'm getting a patina on this.
yeah.
On
Yeah.
mine.
So that's a really good question, whether it's going to remain inked. And the answer is I don't know. There are Moonman pens in my rotation that I clearly like better and I think are more usable than this pen.
Well,
So they're more
for
likely to
me,
stay than
this pen, as soon as I'm finished the review, is going to get uninked and probably just
Right.
remain in my stand because I
Right.
like looking at it and I'll use it for comparisons and things like that.
Right.
But as soon as I have
Or
it
it's
in
got
my
a
hand,
smooth metal section. Once I saw that it had the smooth metal section, I knew this was not going to be a pen you're going to use on a regular
well,
basis.
I actually, I don't know whether you saw it or not, but I found a way of making a
I
metal
did see
section
that. I did see that. Yeah.
frosty
Yeah.
by
You can
spraying
try
it
that
with
on this
some
one?
lacquer. No, I'm not going to try it on this one. This was $65 US. I'm not gonna,
Right.
But my experience with this pen when I wrote with it for the first time, okay, it doesn't post, but it wants to fall back all the time because that it's back weighted even when not posted.
Yeah.
And
So imagine you wouldn't want this to post even if they could have made it postable. I don't know if you'd
you
want
wouldn't
to
have
post
posted.
it. It's
No,
just
because already with that bullet on the end, it's already back weighted. And so I'm trying to hold that pen down to the paper all the time. And the fact that it gets a lot skinnier down here and tapers and it's slippery. And the coup de grace for me, to speak a little French, more French, is this Bach nib. Now, I have one other Bach that came in my Moonman M800. And this nib made the rounds. It went into about 5 different pens before I finally got it tweaked to the point where I like it and I put it back in the M800. And it's actually a very nice pen. It's very wet and very nice. This one, they're both the same. They're both fine. But this one is extremely fine, and this one is.
Yeah, I got the impression that mine used. Oh, by the way, so Doug and I, our individual reviews on this will be dropping, or will have dropped already by the time you guys see this video. So make sure you check out both Doug and my reviews on this. I got the impression that
you're going up on Friday, and I'm going up
on Friday.
Yeah,
okay, and then
Saturday.
I think we're looking to put this one out on Sunday.
Yeah, this discussion will go up on Sunday. Yeah.
Okay, so by the time this comes out, you should have both Doug and I's videos available. All the links will be available in the respective channels, so feel free to check that out. I got the impression that your Bach nib was quite a bit finer than mine.
Yes.
Even though they're theoretically the same nib.
And you didn't tweak yours.
No.
And yours came out about the way my M800 came out the first time I inked it.
Yeah. Now, Bach nibs tend to run broad, which that's why that really surprised me on yours.
And it surprised me too. And it's not misaligned at all.
No, it's just, I guess it's you just look,
I actually put it under my loop, both the nibs under my loop. And there's less tipping material on this than there was on the other Bach fine. And my friend and nibmeister, Jack Hernandez, I told him about the Bach discrepancy, and he said, well, there's Bach and then there's Bach.
Yeah.
And that's what it is with Bach.
It could be. I mean, my
depends
favorite
on what you're buying from them as a supplier, right?
My favorite nib of all time, of any of the hundreds of pens I own, and I think anyone who's viewed my channel more than a handful of times would probably know the answer to this, is my number 8 Bach broad nib that's in my Ranga number 5, which came from Germany to India to me. And that's my favorite nib on any pen at any price.
Just to let you know, I've got a Ranga on the way.
Oh, nice. Which one?
4C.
Oh, I've got one of those. Those are nice. Now, the 4C, I will tell you, is skinnier, is a very good pen. I have that pen. I have a video on that pen if you want to preview.
Your Ranga is very big.
That's what she said.
pens. So anyway, no. So back to the Bach nibs. Like I
Yeah,
said, so
Bach.
my favorite nib of all time is Bach nib. Now, if you look Bach nibs to the point about your nib being very fine,
Yeah.
Bach nibs tend to run very broad. If you watch the video of me writing with it, that's a broad. It writes like a stub.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
really writes like a stub. My fine that I got on this pen is pretty close to most other places mediums.
Medium.
So the German nibs in general, as we all know, tend to run a bit broader. Pelican being a
Yeah.
fantastic extreme example of that.
Extreme.
Pelicans
Yeah.
are a size, if not sometimes two sizes,
Larger.
bigger
Yeah.
than an
Yeah.
Asian nib. But Bach's not an exception. Bach tends to run just a tiny bit broader than the typical run-of-the-mill nib, and certainly broader than an Asian nib in the same size.
But I wonder whether it's Bach being just all over the map, and that's why so many people have problems with them, and so many people are switching over. You know, Leonardo has
Yeah,
switched over to Yovo.
right.
Conklin has switched over to Yovo. Uh, is it
Yeah, except
inconsistency from Bach?
the Yovo nibs that if you don't mind me saying, the Yovo nibs that Conklin is getting have not been good. I
But
mean,
I haven't heard anything. You've got one?
yeah, my Conklin Omniflex that I
Yeah.
trashed in my yeah
Oh, yeah. That was a Yovo, right?
that's a
Right.
Yovo made Conklin nib. It's
Because I
not a good.
trashed mine, but it was a Bach.
I took
Yeah.
that nib out. Yeah,
Yeah.
I took that nib out and replaced it and with a Anderson pen stub nib, and it's been fantastic. That'll make an appearance in my January monthly pens video briefly, just if you want to see what that looks like.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that I only wrote with that once with the Omniflex nib, and that is just a bad nib. I mean, that is
Well,
not a good nib.
I bought an Omniflex last year, and it
Yeah,
made my worst pens of 2020
yeah,
list
yeah, yeah,
because the Omniflex was terrible. And I bought two nibs with it, the Omni and
yeah,
a medium, and the medium wouldn't write either. So I pulled that nib and put
yeah. Here's the thing.
another nib in it. Yep.
But if you really want a flex nib experience, you can't. You got to just go get a vintage pen, and you don't have to spend a lot of money on them because you can get one that's maybe not in the best condition, but still has a decent nib in it.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to do maybe a little bit of work and what have you, we're not talking a major investment here. We're talking something comparable to what, say, you pay for a Conklin steel Omniflex that doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. It
In this
doesn't
case,
work.
you're going to get 100-year-old nib that's going to really work phenomenally. So
Yeah.
for folks out there that really want that flex experience, you got to get a vintage 14 karat nib. I'm sorry to say, it's just
I,
someday somebody will crack the secret sauce on that, but it hasn't been done yet. Yeah.
it isn't certainly what's something I'm looking for because I'm not a Spencerian by any stretch. So no way.
Oh, I'm clearly not either. I'm clearly not either, as I have the worst handwriting of anybody reviewing pens online. But I just like the experience. There's a certain, what I do like is the fact that, and there's a video I did a long time ago where I highlighted this fact on a vintage flex nib.
Mm.
You don't even have to
You don't
try.
have to
Just the
try.
normal motion of your
Yes.
hand without doing any flexing, you get the variation.
That's the
Even
thing.
on a
Yeah.
modern flex nib, you still have to actually consciously try to get the flex.
Yeah.
That makes all the difference in the world.
And even if it's just a certain amount of bounce, my
Yeah,
my Opus 88 Bella has a
right,
Yovo steel
right,
broad nib, and
right.
I was surprised at how much bounce there was in
Oh
it.
yeah, every once in a while you
Very,
get
very
kind of
nice.
lucky almost, and you
Yeah.
just get a bouncy nib. But
Yeah.
that's almost by accident, not by
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes,
Yeah. By design.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've had that happen where I'm like, you get like a new nib and you're like, wow, this has got a little bit of bounce to it. I don't think they were. I have a strange feeling that when that happens, it's just serendipity and not necessarily design.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
this was terrific, Alan. I really appreciate doing another co-pro with you. And maybe we'll find another pen
Likewise.
together that we'll do again. This was certainly a worthy
Yeah,
one because,
this is our first non-pen BBS one. All the other ones we've
yeah,
done have been pen BBS. Yeah.
but something with a little bit of controversy to it always adds some
Yeah.
spice to the conversation.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So, again, just make sure everybody watching check out Doug's review, check out my review, and check out our whole channels, by the way, while you're at it.
And don't forget to like and subscribe and comment. And
exactly.
and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.